What is up, Disney nerds? So it is officially Friday the 17th, and that means Antman and the Wasp Quantumania is officially out in theaters. And I've seen it now twice, which means I'm basically going to give my breakdown of this movie in spoiler detail. So if you don't want to get spoiled, just watch this video right here. It'll be in the description below. Definitely check that out because that is the spoiler-free review of this movie. But for right now, I want to talk about why I think this movie is actually really good. And a lot of people don't think it's good for some reason. And I want to give you why I think it's good and what it's going to be setting up for the future, because this movie is definitely the stepping stone for what we are getting in the next two phases leading up to Secret Wars. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So right off the bat, spoiler warning for you guys again, but this movie is good for me. I don't know why. I disagree with a lot of people that are saying that it is really bad, because there's a lot of people saying this is one of the worst MCU movies of all time, and I just completely disagree with that statement. This movie for me, I want to talk about the three main things, what people are saying why it's bad. There is key elements that people think for some reason when they come to this movie. Character development. They said that people's characters in this movie aren't good. The explanation of why this movie exists, I don't know. And then the story, I guess. But just those three details I completely disagree with, and I think they are all good. So starting off on why this movie exists. This movie exists purely to set up for Kang Dynasty and like Loki season 2. We're going to be breaking down the post credits as well. So right off the bat, this movie is an Alice in Wonderland type story where you get sucked into this random place, the quantum realm, and Ant-Man's like Alice, and then Kang the Conqueror is like the Red Queen. And for me, I think that's great. I think it's brilliant writing. And I found this movie just right off the bat good with its premise. Janet Van Dyne's been down here before. We got to see what was doing and what her life consisted of being down in the quantum realm. And we never got to see that in Ant-Man and the Wasp. We never got to see what she did in the quantum realm, what those 30 years consisted of. We finally get that in this. And so I feel like that's also a tie-in to Ant-Man and the Ant-Man and the Wasp series. And that's another problem that people have, is they don't think this concludes the Ant-Man franchise. And I don't really feel like you need a conclusion for the Ant-Man franchise. I don't feel like you really need a conclusion to a trilogy if the character's still going to continue. If you're still going to have more Ant-Mans, or you're still going to have an Ant-Man storyline, why end it? Why have it conclude? Civil War did not feel like a conclusion for Captain America, but a conclusion for like the Avengers. This can be a conclusion for the quantum realm. They finally get to understand what the quantum realm is. And I feel like that's what the Ant-Man franchise is exploring the quantum realm. From Ant-Man 1 to Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man 1, we did not know what the quantum realm was. Everyone was afraid to be even in the quantum realm. Then in Ant-Man 2, they were going in the quantum realm, and coming out of it, Ghost was like phasing because of the quantum realm. And we even got the quantum realm mechanics for Avengers Endgame. And then this, we actually got to go in the quantum realm and explore it. So that's what I feel like the Ant-Man franchise is. So if this is not a conclusion to Ant-Man, then it's certainly a conclusion to the quantum realm, and finally to understand it. So that is what I think this movie is an understanding of what the quantum realm is. And so with that, I'm fine with that. We also got a better look at Jonathan Majors as Kang, and that's definitely a big setup for Avengers Kang Dynasty. And he was the exiled one, they kept exclaiming, and as in they exiled him, it means all the different variants of Kang exiled Kang the Conqueror, which is our Kang. Now, I'm not quite sure what happened to our Kang. He kind of just got like blipped, not blipped, like kind of zapped to nowhere. He could be somewhere. I'm not quite sure where he is at. But all the Kang's at the end, the post-credit scene, all the different variations of Kang are now there. And I feel like this is going to be kind of like the beginning of Kang Dynasty. We're going to see all this go down, and possibly even in Loki season 2, because that was our other post-credit scene, is Loki and Mobius kind of seeing Kang, but a different adaptation of Kang. And honestly, I don't even know where Loki season 2 is going to be going, but I know it's going to be good. You can see the fear in Loki's eyes during this post-credit, and that's definitely a good sign that they have a plan for this movie. So with that, right off the bat, I feel like that's why this movie exists right away. It's kind of an Alice in Wonderland, and it concludes the Ant-Man franchise with being a Quantum Realm movie. Now, second, character development. Why people think this, for some reason, doesn't have good character developments. And, I mean, I could see a little bit of why people disagree with this. There is a lot of characters in this movie, such as the guy who claims he has no holes. That dude, the guy that can mind read, and the leader of this group. They are all great characters, but we get to see them kind of sprinkled out here. We don't get Lewis or the classic gang that we get from the first movie, unfortunately, but we got the Baskin-Robbins manager. We got a few other characters too, but I feel like Kang was the main kind of character that they were trying to bring up in this movie and kind of set up for the future of the MCU, and I feel like that was established right from the start. I feel like Kang was the main character of this movie, and Ant-Man also had some kind of character development because he was doing nothing with his life, unfortunately. He was just writing a book, and he was like, all right, I saved the world, guys. That's really all that I did. And everyone's kind of looking at him like, all right, but what else are you going to do? Like, you can't just say like, oh, I saved the world, I'm done with life, you know? So Cassie kind of brought him to realization that there's more out there, and there's more that he needs to kind of do in life, you know? And stop being such like a show-off, I guess. And so that's really good, and I really like, honestly, Janet's character development. We finally get to see what Janet did in the Quantum Realm, and for me, alone, that, again, is great. I was wondering what Janet was doing in the Quantum Realm for literally 30 years, and unfortunately, we don't get to see Hope Van Dyne that much in this movie, and that's kind of a letdown, but Hope wasn't not bad. She wasn't bad, but there was not a lot of her, but I feel like her character was more focused in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so that's why I don't think we really got to see her in this as much. But however, there is one character that kind of was a bit falling flat, MODOK. I'll be honest with you guys, I was very hyped for MODOK, and he is definitely the comedy person for this movie, and there is comedy in this movie, and it works for me, honestly. The comedy works. There's no moment in this movie where I'm like, oh, that was so cringy, like watching Thor: Love and Thunder. In Thor: Love and Thunder, the comedy was overtaken in the movie, and you couldn't watch the movie seriously. Where this, you can. You get the fear out of Jonathan Majors, but then you get some comedy out of MODOK, and he dies, of course. And obviously, that is like a devastating thing because MODOK is a main character in the comics. He is a main superhero villain, and I always loved MODOK. However, I feel like they kind of brought his character really well. I really liked how they brought Darren as MODOK, and his character was funny. He was like, oh, I'm an Avenger now, and at least in my death, and everyone was kind of like, you're not, but you are, whatever. And so that alone, I think, was really funny. And just because they did him dirty, they did MODOK very dirty in this movie, but it works. It works for what we get. I'm glad that we even got MODOK, because I never thought that we would. And they did make it funny. There was a lot of laughs in my theaters, both experiences when I went to see this, from me and my fellow peers. So I definitely found it funny. Other people found it funny. And I definitely think that it's a good time. So with that being established, this movie definitely is a setup for the beginning stages of Phase 5 and Phase 6 leading into Kang Dynasty. This definitely just felt like a big teaser for King Dynasty. I felt like I was watching like a beginning to like a show, and that's what we got to come to realize. This was a movie and it did have its perks, but it was mainly a setup, and I'm okay with that. It makes me more excited to see the coming up stuff. And I think that it was really good. So I'm giving this movie again a 3.5 out of 5, if not a 4, but we'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. I'm giving it a 78 out of 100 and a 7.5 out of a 10. Because I really liked it. It was great. I didn't find it awful as what Rotten Tomatoes is saying and what other people are saying on TikTok. This movie is not bad. And honestly, if you say it's bad and you didn't even watch the movie, you're what's wrong with society. Because you need to check a movie out before you say it's bad. That's just my opinion. But this movie, in my opinion, was good. And it did have a purpose of finally seeing what the quantum realm was. And the story of Ant-Man is the quantum realm. Without Ant-Man, we don't have the quantum realm. So I'm kind of glad that we got to see that experience. And I'm glad for what we got. And I think it's good. I really liked it. So with that being said, guys, that is what we are looking at for the future. King Dynasty is coming around the corner faster than what we'll see. So with that being said, thank you so much. Please subscribe and like and ring the bell for notifications. Comment down below what you thought of the movie. With that being said, Disney Nerd out. Peace!